The Communist Manifesto was not only the declaration which Marx and Engels voiced for the oppressed of the world, it was not only a scientific exposition of how human society and civilization developed, and the inevitable objective was beginning from a classless society, a society without exploitation of man by man, going through the cycles of your historical development and historical materialism, you ultimately once again reach back the classless society which is there in communism. Primitive communism to communism. In between the stages of your slavery, of your feudalism, of your capitalism, of your socialism, and how each one of these are intertwined in the essence of what causes human development, what causes civilizational development, and that is essentially class struggle, or that is essentially dialectics, which is not only there in class struggle, but it is there in nature, it is there in everything that is there in this universe. And it is this dialectical materialism that propels the movement of natural history, the dialectical historical materialism is what propels the movement of human civilization. All this is encompassed in this little wonderful book. And in this, the ideas that are contained in it, and as many times as we read it, we always find something new that we have understood. So when my seniors in the communist movement, when I was still an undergraduate student, they would keep asking me, how many times have you read the Communist Manifesto? So I used to wonder why these old men are saying how many times, and then I used to think maybe they are old, therefore they are forgetting, so they keep on rereading. But then I realized as I am getting old, that there is wisdom in rereading the Communist Manifesto and the classics of Marx and Engels, because every time you read it, you grasp a new meaning of something which you have not grasped earlier, because you have not undergone some experience which you have now undergone. Each one of us in our life undergo experiences. With each experience, there is one nuance which, when we have not gone through that experience, we don't understand. But after having gone through that experience, it comes as a new knowledge to us, and that is the significance of a great book and a great work. And Manifesto is one among them, which not only makes one understand and comprehend, but motivates one into moving into action. And that is the significance of this book, apart from everything else that you have already heard. I don't want to repeat. But then why is it today that the Communist Manifesto is being read more than, let's say, a decade ago? Why are people asking for Marxist literature? And even the Reverend Pope sitting in Vatican, when this global capitalist crisis, economic crisis is going on, the Pope apparently in Vatican ordered copies, whether they were wondering whether there is Latin copy of Marx's Capital, and then they said there is no Latin copy, so they were ordering copies of Capital for the Vatican library. And we were wondering why. Because the Pope came to the conclusion that if you want to understand this capitalist crisis that is taking place from 2008, this is the 11th year, continuing crisis. If you want to understand that crisis, why it came, and if you want to look for a solution of how to solve it, he says there is no way but we have to go back to Karl Marx and read his works, and that is the only way in which we can understand why this crisis is taking place. The Pope has come to that conclusion, and some of his pontifications after that, if you read, he actually says no amount of reform is going to help. In one of his earliest pontifications, no amount of reform is going to help. We actually need to overhaul the system, which in Marxist terms we say we need to change the system, overthrow the system. And that is, and why is this happening? That is the impact of the Manifesto and the subsequent works of Marx and Engels that I want to dwell upon today. That this prolonged crisis of global capitalism, which has actually proven the bankruptcy of the neoliberal trajectory. What is the neoliberal trajectory? As long as the Soviet Union existed, there was a countervailing power to capitalism. Capitalism had to blunt the growth of socialist consciousness and ideas among the workers and the working class in capitalist countries. So therefore, capitalism adopted a strategy of the welfare economy. It adopted measures as social security, unemployment allowance, safety net, and universal health scheme like you have in England, the national health scheme, the NHS, insurance, government-sponsored insurance. This entire network of security for the working class and the workers was to prevent the growth of socialist consciousness among the working class in the capitalist countries. And thus was born the welfare state and all this conception. But the moment the Soviet Union collapsed, socialism in Eastern Europe collapsed, this pressure to maintain a facade or to share a percentage of their profits in order to stop the growth of socialist consciousness among the working class in their own capitalist countries, that pressure was off. Once that pressure was off, the entire dismantling of the social security network has taken place, and it is continuing even today. But not only that, it paved the way for unbridled exploitation and profit maximization. Neoliberalism was a theoretical framework and said that there is no, which was best summarized by Margaret Thatcher's statement, the government has no business to be in business. That is, public sector you privatize, government does not provide any services, from postal services to railways to transport, everything will be private. So allow private capital to maximize profits. Sell everything. Sell everything, and which is what Marx says in the manifesto. Give the capitalist a chance, he'll sell everything. He didn't know then. By now, they have sold everything except air. Except air, everything is now being sold, even in our country, India. Now air is also being sold. Delhi is the most polluted city, one of the most polluted cities in the world. So you have what are known as ozone bars, ozone. That is one molecule higher than oxygen. So you go into that bar, sit down, put a mask on your face, pay 3,000 rupees for 1 hour, and then say you inhale pure oxygen. So you are selling now air, also through this method, saying fighting pollution. Air, water, everything is for sale now. How to maximize profits? Now this maximization of profits led to a situation, profits were maximized, but inequality widened. Like today, the Oxfam report has put out in India that the 1% of India super rich, their earnings and wealth in their hands is equal to 4 times the earnings and wealth in the bottom 70% of India's population. 70% of India's population, what it has as wealth or its earnings, 1% has 4 times that much. That is the degree of this most extraordinary inequality that neoliberalism spawned. What is the result of that? People don't have money to buy. So therefore, capitalism cannot develop unless what is produced can be sold. If it's not sold, profits can't be made. But if it has to be sold, people need to have money to buy. But people don't have money to buy because you've already exploited them so much. You've already accumulated so much of profit and wealth. There's no money in the hands of the people to buy. So capitalism enters into a crisis, and that is the genesis of the 1980 crisis. that led to the financial markets meltdown. That is the cause of today's near recession in India, where our GDP is falling constantly, unemployment highest in half a century, rural spending, household spending has fallen for the first time in real terms in many, many decades. That means people don't have money to spend. Factories are closing down, retrenchment is taking place. Now this is because people don't have money to buy. Now if you want to give money to people, that can be done through public investments, build our infrastructure, create new jobs. Let our youth today who is wandering aimlessly, let them get jobs, and once they get their jobs, they'll start spending, and that spending will lead to a situation of reopening the closed factories today and probably economic recovery in our country. The same is true at the global scale. No, but if they do that, then the ruling class, the capitalist class has to cut their level of profit maximization. That the bourgeois classes, the capitalist classes is not willing to do. Now then, how do you overcome this crisis? Because people's discontent against this is leading to a political change. It is leading to a change where left-oriented politics was gaining. It was leading to a stage where, like in Bolivia, Evo Morales, he nationalized all the lithium resources in Bolivia. Bolivia has 70% of the world's lithium resources. And what is lithium important for? Lithium is the essential ingredient for your batteries. Today, with this entire concern for climate change, clean energy for the future is battery generated energy. And profits are there in battery generated energy. Bolivia has 70% of world's lithium resources. If Bolivia starts using it, profits go to Bolivia, not to your international bourgeoisie or the capitalists. So when Evo Morales nationalizes, 4 days later, there is a military coup engineered by the USA. The government is overthrown and the dictatorship is brought in because control these resources for profit generation. But the basic problem remains. People don't have money to buy, and that anger of the people is reflected in people like Evo Morales and progressive governments being elected in Bolivia, elected in Venezuela, elected in various other countries. Now that is dangerous for capitalism. Then how do you contain that? There, in every country, find somebody who will be able to divert the people's attention because of their own agenda away from the day-to-day problems caused by this global capitalist crisis. The people's discontent should not target the replacement of the rule of capital. That is, it should not be a socialist-oriented or a progressive-oriented movement, but that people's discontent must be channelized into divisive forces, and that channelization of divisive forces is what we call the right-wing shift in politics today globally. Donald Trump will say that I want to restore the pride of America. And behind that, what is unsaid is I want to restore the pride of American whites. That is, all immigrants, everybody else, including Indians, getting there and working in the IT industry, cut their visas, cut their exemption there, anti-immigration, racism, xenophobia, hatred, building a wall on the Mexican border. All this is used up in order to gain the people's sympathy. So people who are raging against the capitalist exploitation and coming unitedly in the fight against that find themselves diverted and disrupted with this sort of an agenda. Like this, it happens in France with Marine Le Pen, it happens in Germany with the Alternative for Deutschland, it happens in India with our RSS and the BJP and Narendra Modi and Amit Shah. And that is the meaning of this in the last 7 months. These are the biggest allies of global capitalism. these are the biggest allies of the bourgeois class rule and the ruling classes, and these are the biggest allies for intensification of this exploitation even further. The Donald Trumps and Narendra Modis and Boris Johnsons and your Bolsonaros in Brazil, an outright dictator, a fascist dictator. He prides himself calling himself a fascist. So very rightly, Mr. Modi chose him to be invited for our Republic Day parade as the chief guest. Because Modi and Bolsonaro see eye to eye, birds of the same feather have been flocked together. So he is, unfortunately, the guest of India for the Republic Day parade. Now these are the people who actually, who are collaborators with imperialism and global capitalism in heaping intensified exploitation, and imperialism and global capitalism chooses them to be leaders, and that is why the bonhomie between Modi and the US, bonhomie between Modi and all these dictators with the US and US imperialism. And the agenda is what? Each country has their own agenda, and India, the agenda is to convert our secular democratic republic, of India, as enshrined in our constitution, into what the RSS vision of a fascistic state based on what Savarkar had called Hindutva. And when he said Hindutva has nothing to do with Hindu religion. It is a political project. A political project in order to create a society of a fascistic nature, which is exactly what the blueprint for the society that the Modi Shah regime today and the RSS today want. So this they want for their purpose. This is part of our legacy, of our freedom movement. When we were fighting for our freedom, three visions emerged. What will be the character, on the question of what will be the character of independent India? The major vision, led by the Congress party leading the freedom struggle then, was that India, given its diversity, can only be a secular democratic republic. The political structure has to be an inclusive secular democratic republic. The communists, the left, agreed, said yes, there is no other political structure feasible in our country except a secular democratic republic. But the objective of independence cannot stop there. Objective of independence has to proceed beyond the secular democratic republic and move towards converting the political independence of our country into the economic independence of every individual. And that is possible only under socialism, and therefore the march towards socialism will continue. As opposed to both these visions was the third vision, which had a twin expression. And that vision was, no, India will not be a secular democratic republic. India will be a country whose character will be defined by the religious affiliation of its people. And with this vision, the twins were born. The Muslim League demanding an Islamic state, the RSS demanding an Hindu Rashtra. And that Hindu Rashtra vision was articulated in 1939 by the RSS then chief, which was basically a fascistic vision, emulating Hitler. In fact, he actually says, we have seen how Hitler purged Germany of the anti-Germanic races. A good lesson for us in Hindustan to learn and profit by. This is what he said in 1939. Now, this vision led to the two-nation theory, which was first propounded by Savarkar as the president of the Hindu Mahasabha in 1939. It was later picked up by Muhammad Ali Jinnah in 1940 and 1941. And the two-nation theory therefore became the popular thing. Savarkar said there are two nations in India, a Hindu and an Islamic. Jinnah said the same. That led to the unfortunate partition of the country and the creation of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. but Indian freedom movement continued to remain committed to a secular democratic republic, and that is exactly what we achieved when we became independent. And because Pakistan could achieve their Islamic state, but the RSS could not achieve its fascistic state, the anger and the frustration reflected in the assassination and murder of Mahatma Gandhi. And that is from then onwards, the effort was to convert the secular democratic republic into a fascistic Hindutva based state. And that is the effort that has continuously been going on, and that is exactly what is unfolding in the first 7 months of Modi 2.0 government. And this Modi 2.0 government, first thing what they did what? Abolish Article 370 for Kashmir in a most subterfuge manner in which they manipulated this whole thing. Then Ayodhya, unfortunately the Supreme Court gave the verdict but has not delivered justice. In the Ayodhya thing, Supreme Court verdict is there but no justice. And then now comes the CAA, NRC, NPR. What is the CIA, NRC, NPR? Great magnanimity. Mr. Modi government is showing that we will give people who are religiously persecuted in Afghanistan, Pakistan and Bangladesh, we will give them citizenship. Anybody who is coming to India because of any reason, not only religious persecution, but who spent a certain amount of time in India can get citizenship through what is called the process of naturalization, according to our constitution today. They have reduced that period from 11 years to 5 years. Fine, reduce it without bringing these amendments. Why are you bringing these amendments? The amendments are brought in order to isolate one community, that is the minority Islamic community. Everybody else will be given citizenship except them. We said remove reference to countries and to religions. Amendment we have moved by us in the parliament. They rejected that. Because why? The purpose is not magnanimity to give citizenship to people who face persecution. The point is to divide the society, polarize it in communal fashion, in creating hatred and generating a divide between the Hindus and the Muslims. And that is the objective. The same objective of giving sanction to citizenship to people coming from other countries who are persecuted can happen without all these legislations. Already provisions exist. But the objective is to generate this sort of a divide. Now, if you want to generate this sort of a divide, how do you do it? With the people who are already existing here? The Prime Minister says, no, we will not take away citizenship of anybody. We will only give it to people. If that is the case, sir, why are you doing this NPR? They say the National Population Register, we are doing because UPA government did it. UPA government had to do it, why? In 2003 under Vajpayee government, it was Mr. Advani who amended the Citizenship Act and brought this provision of the National Population Register. And the rules under it explicitly state the National Population Register will be the basis on which the National Register of Citizens will be prepared. The rules of this National Population NPR state that. So right from then, when the rules were framed in the earlier BJP government, it was clear that NPR is the basis on which the NRC is going to be prepared. Now Mr. Modi thunders that ever since he became Prime Minister, never has NRC been discussed. I don't know what to say to a Prime Minister who says such things. I was still in Parliament when he became Prime Minister. And I still remember, our seats in the Rajya Sabha, coincidentally, were such that the allotted seats of the Prime Minister and mine, we almost face each other. And even if I don't like it, I have to look at him. He doesn't like it, he has to look at me. So that is the situation. So when and 3 months after he became Prime Minister, there was a question asked in the Rajya Sabha whether NPR will be a duplication of Aadhaar. Why are you doing both? So then the answer comes from the Home Ministry. The Home Minister answers, the Deputy Home Minister, Mr. Kiran Rijiju. He answers a written answer. It is there in the records. He said, no, it is not a duplication, because the objective of the NPR is to lay the foundation for the formation of the NRIC. Those days it was called the NRIC, that is National Register of Indian Citizens, which is now the NRC. So that is the basis of it. So NPR is required for the NRC. This Modi Sahab was declared 3 months after you became Prime Minister by your government. After that, there are at least 10 occasions when this is repeated in the Parliament. And the country was surprised when the Home Minister used the word chronology. He said, you please understand the chronology of how this process is. First the CAA, then the NPR, then the NRC on the basis of it. In the NRC, those people who are non-Muslims, whose names are not there, they will all be given citizenship under CAA. The Muslims will be declared as foreigners, illegal, and all the termites, he calls them termites, all the termites will be thrown out of the country. Now this is having international ramifications. Bangladesh has cancelled all its visits so far, and Bangladesh Prime Minister made a statement yesterday which is not at all positive for India. Former President of Afghanistan today has given an interview saying if we talk of persecution, they are Hindus, they are Sikhs, they are Muslims who are being persecuted in Afghanistan. And all of them say there is no religious persecution there. That is a different matter. But inside the country, you know what is happening. When people rose in protest against this brutal police attacks, they say that protesters are violent. Where has the violence happened? Where are the deaths that have happened because of these protests all over the country? At this very moment when we are sitting here, there are at least 20 locations in India where thousands and thousands of people are collected in protest against the CAA, NRC, NPR. Deaths have occurred maximum in UP 21, in Karnataka 2, in Assam 5. These are the deaths that have occurred due to police firing. And in all the 3 states, it's the BJP state government. Violence takes place in Delhi, where the police is directly under the Home Ministry. The ransacking and firing in Jamia Millia University by police. The police standing guard, allowing private gundas to go inside JNU and beat up the students and teachers, and escorting these armed goons out of the university and then entering the university in the name of protecting law and order. All this has gone viral on the social media. And this sort of a violence they are creating, a state-sponsored violence, and blaming the protesters. UP Chief Minister says, I'll take revenge against those people who are doing these protests. And now, his police goes and ransacks minority homes, destroys their properties, and the same people whose properties have been destroyed are now, cases have been filed, and people are asked to pay fines like the British used to do for damaging public property. Police damages, people pay the fine. And who are the people who pay the fine? The minorities mostly. So this is also not working. The violence thing, nobody is clear buying that logic. They say these are all anti-Indian. Nobody is buying this logic because in every single protest, the symbol that is being used is the tricolor, our flag. The oath that is being taken is on the preamble of the Indian Constitution. If that is the case, what is being anti-national? Oh, Mr. Modi is saying that, why didn't you talk about Pakistan? Why should I talk about Pakistan? I am an Indian, I talk about India. Today when you talk of the Indian economy, Modi says, why didn't you talk of the Pakistan economy? I'm talking of my economy, my people not getting jobs. Why am I bothered about Pakistan? But that is their only obsession, Pakistan. That's why to all these things, what is happening today? Our youngsters, it's very heartening and very proud to feel that our younger generation, which everybody was saying, these are all cyber nerds, they're only on cyberspace, they're only in front of their computers, they're only in front of their smartphones, they have nothing to do with social reality. When all this nonsense was being spread about our youth, and today just look at them. This generation coming out with this sense of patriotism, holding the national flag, taking an oath on the preamble of our constitution, because our youth realize they are the inheritors of future of India. How India will be in the future, they are at stake. They are today the stakeholders of India's future, and they are rising to protect it. And that is why we have to answer Mr. Modi. If you are calling us anti-national, remember, every religion will have its own book. Islam can have Quran, Christianity can have its Bible, Hinduism will have many books, Sikhism will have its Granth Sahib, and we have a multiple choice as far as Hindus are concerned. So, we have our books, but remember, as far for every Indian patriot, there is only one book, and that book is the Constitution of India. And if that is violated, rising in protest is not anti-national. Rising in protest is an expression of the highest form of Indian patriotism, and that is what are these protests that are taking place today. That is why we have to be firm. Starting from the manifesto, now link this up with this whole thing. Whatever be the intensity in the crisis of capitalism, capitalism will not automatically collapse. There is a seminal point that is made by Marx and Engels. Not in these words, but the essence is this, that there is nothing called an automatic collapse of capitalism. Today is a very intense crisis. It won't collapse. It has to be overthrown. If you have to overthrow, you have to marshal that political strength to pose the alternative to capitalism to end this exploitation. And that marshalling of the alternative political force is what is disrupted by this sort of a right-wing agenda and this sort of right-wing jingoism, that the variety that we see in our country, which is happening in many countries like I told you earlier, and that is what is the connection between what we have to overthrow the system. To prevent the overthrow of the system, these right reactionary forces are utilized by capitalism itself, by imperialism itself, to divert the people's attention against its own overthrow. So Mr. Modi is not only destroying the unity and integrity of our country, the RSS BJP not only destroying the actual foundations of our secular democratic republic and its own constitutional order, they are actually bolstering the international exploitation of the working people by imperialism and capitalism, and thereby sustaining that exploitative system, while it heaps miseries on all of us and dividing us in the name of religion, in the name of, also with the politics of hate, violence, and everything else that we are seeing around us today. Therefore, the fight against CAA, NRC, and PR is an intrinsic fight against the capitalist exploitative order also. It's not only a fight for upholding our constitution, but it's a fight for improving the daily life of our people and a fight for a progressive change. That is why what are we saying today? NPR will come first. They'll bring it along with the census. They say, oh, no, it's part of the census operation. No. The enumerator who will come to your house will come with 2 questionnaires. You don't have to fill anything. He'll ask questions, you have to answer. The questions about census, you all please answer. But the questions about NPR, we say no. We shall not answer. And those on the basis of which the NPR, they decide the doubtful category, whose names are not found in the NRC, there you have to produce documents. There we say no. They are asking Indian citizens to prove that they are Indian citizens. The law of the land in jurisprudence says, I am innocent till proven that I am guilty. If you want to say I am not a citizen, you prove that I am not a citizen. Why should I prove that I am a citizen for your sake? So I am not going to show you any documents. So that's why the language, the popular slogan that is, like for the NRC, he said, Kagaz nahi dikhayenge. We will not show our papers. For NPR, it must be jawab nahi denge. We will not give you an answer. And that way, NPR, NRC will have to be thwarted, then the CAA will have to be repealed. And this is all interlinked. It is not as though this is a different struggle and the working class struggles and the economic exploitation, etc., those are different struggles. And that is the intrinsic value of the manifesto. There is nothing insulated, isolated from each other. Everything is part of the whole. Fighting against religious obscurantism is at the same time fighting against imperialist exploitation. Today, this interlinkage of every manifestation of socio-political economic existence of human society, that is the holistic manner in which the manifesto brings the whole picture, whose implications are many more than what is there in the written word. And that is why this is important for us to read and reread or study and restudy the manifesto, so that like this linkages in Indian context, this government being the greatest ally of imperialism and global capitalism in the day of their crisis for maximizing their profits, this government therefore being supported by the so-called champions of human rights, the United States of America, in the most brazen violation of your human rights and civil liberties and democratic rights of the Indian people. More than 5 months in Kashmir, no internet, no communication, grandson doesn't know if the grandfather is alive or dead. This is continuing for 5 months, but no human cry on human rights violation. Because they require this sort of a government in India to bolster their profit maximization and their classroom. So this holistically, we'll have to look at it. So this struggle which we have to succeed, not only to save India, not only to save our constitution, but also to change India for the better. And that changing India for the better is exactly what the manifesto is all about, change. And that change, a revolutionary change, will have to come, for which today these battles have to be won, so that we can mount the offensive of the final battle. And that is why this holistic approach of the manifesto, this is something which I am very happy that in today's day and age, in the Tamil, 1 lakh copies have been sold. The first copy, post 1 lakh copy, has already been printed, and I'm sure many more will also be printed and sold. And I must thank the people of the Tamil knowing people for buying it, and only appeal to them to study it. And like my elders used to say when I thought they were being stupid, but you may think I'm stupid, but you will also realize when you're growing older, that please study it, reread it and restudy it.